The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Volume 1, Chapter 1, Marseille, the Arrival. On the 24th of February, 1815, the lookout at Notre-Dame de la Garde signaled the three-master, the Pharaon, from Smyrna, Trieste, and Naples. As usual, a pilot put off immediately, and rounding the Chateau d'If, got on board the vessel between Cape Morjou and Rion Island. Immediately, and according to custom, the ramparts of Fort Saint-Jean were covered with spectators. It is always an event at Marseille for a ship to come into port, especially when this ship, like the Pharaon, has been built, rigged, and laden at the old Fosse docks and belongs to an owner of the city. The ship drew on, and had safely passed the strait which some volcanic shock has made between the Calasorene and Jarro Islands, had doubled as pommegue, and approached the harbor under topsails, jib, and spanker, but so slowly and sedately that the idlers, with that instinct which is the forerunner of evil, asked one another what misfortune could have happened on board. However, those experienced in navigation saw plainly that if any accident had occurred, it was not to the vessel herself, for she bore down with all the evidence of being skillfully handled, the anchor a cockbill, the jib-boom guys already eased off, and standing by the side of the pilot, who was steering the Pharaon toward the narrow entrance of the inner port, was a young man who, with activity and vigilant eye, watched every motion of the ship and repeated each direction of the pilot. The vague disquietude which prevailed among the spectators had so much affected one of the crowd that he did not await the arrival of the vessel in the harbor, but jumping into a small skiff, desired to be pulled alongside the Pharaon, which he reached as she rounded into La Réserve basin. Okay, so already the absurdity of this project is dawning on me. That was not a lot to absorb right away. We weren't even introduced to any characters unless you considered the ship a character, the Pharaon. Also, I'm noticing my Midwest roots are showing in a big way. I have to admit, I'm not skilled at languages. I have had to make many notations on this text for phonetic pronunciations. Hopefully it edits together in a way that sounds fairly natural. But let's just talk a little bit about what's going on in this passage here. Clearly a boat is coming into the port of Marseille called the Pharaon. There is a couple people aboard that seem to be steering it well. There doesn't seem to be any issue with that. Interesting, just as a side note, that it's a spectacle for these ships to come in. Like, that's in 1815. This is what people did. They went to the port to just watch boats come in. I guess that's to be expected. I imagine there's other stuff happening on the port too, besides just the boat. It's not just a line of spectators along the waterway watching the boat come in, but maybe, I don't know. What do I know? We got a lot to learn. But yeah, it's kind of like the return of a hometown hero, I guess, since this is a ship from this port, and there seems to be one very eager person just like wanting to get out there for some reason. Not sure why. Also, just noting that there's just like this air of something not right happening here. As I say, nothing looks amiss, but there's just kind of what's going, like something isn't right. It's like, I don't know. It put me in mind of like the moments of the Challenger when you see the ship going up into the air, and then you could just tell something was kind of off about the whole thing. I mean, the boat doesn't explode here. I mean, that would be a hell of a way to start a book, but the spectators, especially the guy getting in the boat and heading out there to meet the Pharaon, can just tell something's not right. So this is an interesting start, and I'm curious to see where we're going to go from here. A little bit of research before I end this episode. The line at the very beginning when it says, the lookout at the Notre Dame de la Garde signaled the three-master. I was just like, what's the three-master? Turns out it's just a ship with 3 masts. So that's a pretty big ship. I can't imagine what it's up to, but 3 masts, that's a lot of masting, a lot of sails. So I imagine the crew's pretty big. We got a lot to learn in the coming episodes. So that's it for now. I guess we'll see you tomorrow. Okay, bye. The Countdown of Monte Cristo is part of the Gruntwork Podcast Network. This show is produced, edited, and hosted by Landon Solano. The original text of The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexander Dumas. Theme song by Magic Solo. If you want to support the show and others like it, visit patreon.com/gruntworkpod. Thank you for listening. See you tomorrow.